Welcome to the pregame.com video and audio podcast for September 9th. This is segment 1 of 4 this week. And we're going to be talking about handicapping theory entering the season. Both what did we learn from week 1 in college football and how do you look at week 1 in NFL, which is upcoming. I'm joined by Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, and Vegas runner, a genuine professional bettor here in Vegas. Marco, why don't you just take off? You talk about any subject you want. What do you feel most passionate about this week?
Well, let's go to week 1 last week, college football. Great week of college football, exciting games. I can't remember a better week opening with some of the games we had. And the thing that I took away from the first week is too much. You lead into the first week, you got 3 weeks that the lines are out and everybody's talking about them.
I noticed, and Vio, you can. We didn't give Marco a chance here, but we like to make it interactive. I noticed bigger line moves. I did a LA radio spot on Friday, and I looked at the bigger games, and like Notre Dame went from 10 to 15.
Correct.
And there was numerous. USC was bet down, I think, from 38 to 33. Or big line moves. Is that a combination? It seems to me 2 potential factors. One is the lines makers just aren't as sharp early in the year, and number 2 could be that because they are out for so long, there's more action, which causes more movement.
I think it's a little both, but more I believe it's the odds makers were off, and they were way off because a lot of them moves ended up cashing. I mean, the Texas A&M line moving 3-4 points. The wise guys did extremely well on the games that got steamed, and a perfect indication of this is when you look at the odds makers poll. So many teams he had to go in and rank them now, where in the first week he didn't have them ranked, and others he had to drop.
So the turnover in the odds makers poll was pretty significant this week.
Unbelievable. I mean, I saved a copy of the first week just so I could compare it as the year goes on. It was incredible how off they were. On the flip side, though, was that a good thing? Because the sportsbooks did well. The public had a little too much confidence, I think, in the odds makers' numbers and didn't do as well. The wise guys cleaned up.
What does that mean? The public had confidence in the number.
I think they gave too much respect in the number the odds makers have. They weren't even close.
If the public is given respect, what do they do in that case?
Because he was so off, you're going to have a negative result because of that. Because none of the games hardly even came close to the spread. You're talking about 20-point dogs winning outright. 3-point favorites winning by 41. I mean, he was way off. Them significant moves cashed. But unfortunately, the betting public was on the wrong side of a lot of them moves. According to the sports books, they did great on Saturday.
So the wise guys did well, but the square bettors did poorly.
Yeah, according to the sports book, that's how, and looking at the line moves, that's pretty much how it went.
All right, so we had big line moves, Marco?
Well, one of the things that what I was alluding to was that public perception on teams for graduation losses. A couple of the key games last week, Alabama had to replace a starting quarterback. Missouri, everybody was just talking bad about Missouri, coming up into this, that, they lost Chase Daniels and the whole team. You had the question marks with Georgia. I used all 3 of those games last week. I lost the Georgia game, but these teams that are good programs and they're on the uptick like Missouri, they can reload. Once you start going to a bowl game, recruiting becomes so much easier for these programs, and they can restock.
So let's think about this, because college football is probably the main sport I have the most insider knowledge of. A lot of friends in the business. I do agree, going from being a non-bowl team to a bowl team is a big jump. And when we say bowl team, consistently, 4 out of 5 years making a bowl. But the difference between, let's say, a Kansas, which meets that criteria, and an Oklahoma is night and day. So you want to take a minute and make that distinction, because I think that's a key distinction.
Well, the game that I'm zeroing in on is Missouri, and as I said, everybody was against Missouri on Saturday. Everybody thought Illinois was bringing a lot of people back.
There was a revenge factor to add to
revenge play on that, and Missouri went in to Champaign and just they cold cocked Illinois. I mean that game wasn't even close.
A game the books did extremely well with. Everybody was taking Illinois in that one, laying the points.
So what's the message with Missouri?
The message is these programs that are on the rise, and when you see significant losses, don't overreact to them. That they're going to be better.
Significant losses of players early in the season.
Absolutely.
Right, so what I'm hearing as a takeaway, and that's always one of our goals, is to have actionable takeaways here, is it's common to say Ohio State reloads, USC reloads. We know the top 8, 9, 10 programs reload. You're saying in this day and age, these second-tier programs that just initially reach that tier, like a Missouri, they aren't reloading quite as effectively, but more than expected.
And the public perception is going to be the other way. So you're getting value in the line because the public's going to say, oh, Missouri lost Chase Daniels, they're going to be struggling, and that's where it's at. Public perception versus true value.
Interesting. VR, any teams, and I'll open up to both of you, any teams that played in week 1 or didn't play in week 1 that you think maybe are a little underrated right now based upon because the old cliched trend is returning starters, and when you look at Oklahoma, though, and there's another side to this, is the insiders I talked to are saying that front line just was not ready. Even before the quarterback was hurt, that front line was not gelled yet to play such a tough game.
And that's why he got hurt. Because of that. They were beating him up.
So, clearly there's where's the balance at? Clearly there's some value with returning players, and the public really appreciates that. Are you saying it's swung so much that you look to fade returning teams?
It's a situation that over the years, people, just like you said, have made such an emphasis on the returning starters that they devaluized what we're looking at. It's like the home dog on Monday night. That was great in the NFL until everybody started looking at that, and then the odds makers make adjustments. Now people look at the returning starters and put too much emphasis on this stuff. You got to be able to dissect talent and look at it. And a perfect example, you mentioned Kansas. Kansas was a program for years that was no good, and then on the rise, went to the bowls. They're reloading. You're well aware of the Kansas program with your friends there, and that's a situation that as you grow and parity comes. Now when coaches leave, then you got to that's a bigger adjustment because it could be.
So let's talk about that. So you're saying once a program's in place, and at the bowl level, replacing players is easier, but replacing coaches, no matter what the program is a big challenge.
Right, because once a coach leaves, a lot of those people that want to go to that school because the program was winning, it goes hand in hand. The coach is what started that winning program, and you're going to lose that.
Quick plug here is one of the nice things. What we do here is we're doing 4 video spots this week. We also do a podcast you can hear on iTunes or at pregame.com. But we also do an overtime where anything that we talked about in one of the first 4 segments this week, we'll talk about audio only on overtime. Well, one of the new features is we're going to take the words that Marco makes up, and then we're going to check the dictionary and then tell you if it's a word. So this week, devaluize is going to be one of the things we'll talk about in overtime. All right, we got 60 seconds. Thank you, Toronto. Any closing thought?
First week of the preseason, you just got to throw, the first week of the NFL season, you got to throw the preseason out the window. That's number one. I think we have to get that point across before we end this segment about looking forward towards the next week's games.
And we'll be breaking down the Jacksonville game against Indy, so we'll talk some NFL theory there.
Absolutely, for week 1.
Okay, so this is segment 1. Now remember, you can get all 4 segments if you're a video watcher at pregame.tv, and we'll be right back.